need to do is, let's see, when you manage your desires, and with what do you manage your desires? How do you manage your desires? Sorry? Desire belongs to the mind. With what do you control the mind? Intellect. So when you bring your intellect into control, into play, and examine the desires. Ask yourself, like there's this businessman, Ricardo Semler, extremely successful businessman. He says, any idea that comes to you, any project that you want to go ahead with, any action that you want to take, ask yourself the question, why, 3 times. And if you can come up with a plausible answer, go ahead with it. What is he saying? Bring your intellect into play. He doesn't know intellect, so he uses some other word. When you bring your intellect in, it gives you immediate relief. We'll see shortly. The second step is, once your intellect is firmly in place, the next step is to reduce your desires. And you reduce your desires, we'll see how that happens. It gives you great comfort. The last stage, which is the most difficult stage, is desire elimination. When you eliminate your desires completely, what happens is you meet with infinite bliss. This is the state of realization, because it's desire that is standing in the way of your coming face to face with infinity. So what do you do? Number 1, when desire directly fuels action, it becomes an indiscriminate action which is malignant. It destroys you, it agitates you, it causes a great deal of stress, and most importantly, you don't obtain the object of desire. When the same desire is scanned by the intellect, examined by the intellect, directed, guided by the intellect, it becomes a discriminate action which is benign. Chances are you obtain the object of desire and your mind is calm. So therefore, when the intellect scans the desire which in an indiscriminate state takes the form of a craving, yearning, lust, passion, all of which causes a lot of mental agitations. This transforms into ambition, aspiration, goal. With this, your mind is calmer and you actually plan, program and act out the plan in such a way that you obtain the object of desire. This is desire management. Now, how do you reduce desire? You reduce your desires by picking up a higher desire. So this is called yajna. Yajna or havan is fire worship. But the fire, see, in nature, fire is a great purifier. Isn't that so? You want to sterilize something, you use heat. You have infection in your lungs, you take steam inhalation and it works like magic. So fire, heat is a great purifier. Similarly, now this fire is equated to a higher ideal, because the moment you pick a higher ideal, the only way of overcoming desire is to upgrade your desire, pick up a higher desire. The moment you pick up a higher desire, the lower desires no longer trouble you. They fall away. How do we know that? Go back into your own life. Every one of us has gone through growth from infancy to toddler state, to childhood stage, to school going age, teenager, this, so on and so forth. At every stage you were filled with desires for that particular level. So when you were a child, you had desires for toys. Today, do you have desires for toys? Please don't say yes. You don't. But at any stage in your life, did you take the decision that from now on I am going to renounce all toys? No. But what did you do? Over time, even when you were obsessed with toys, have you seen a child who is obsessed with a new toy clings on to the toy and sleeps with the toy. Even in deep sleep, it clutches the toy so strongly that the mother has a tough time extricating the toy from its fingers. That much is the attachment for the toy. Yet, the moment the child grows and picks up a higher desire, whatever it be, it learns the art of playing games on a computer. What is it called? Sony PlayStation. Instantly the toy drops. And so on till you reach adulthood. Now as an adult, what they tell us is, you're still fooling around with toys. Have you seen someone who's bought a new cell phone with a, what is it called, camera in it? The other day I saw two full-grown ladies. They were about 55 and 60 years old, both of them. But they were so excited, I couldn't tell whether they were more excited about their cell phones or their grandchildren were more excited about their toys. They're clicking photographs of each other, showing each other, giggling away like schoolgirls. So we are all stuck with adult toys. What the Gita tells us, what Krishna is telling us is, don't remain content with toys. Just as when you look at a child, you are confident, you want the child to enjoy the toys, but you are also confident that the child should grow up and pick up higher desires so that it enjoys life better. With the same feeling, Krishna tells us now, upgrade your desire. Pick up higher desires for the simple reason that it is far more fulfilling, far more enjoyable, far more thrilling than the toys that you are fooling around with. And so therefore, pick up a higher ideal. The moment, you see, all our lives we've been obsessed with I, me, myself. Has it done you any good? Take stock of it. It hasn't. So let's try something different. Pick up a higher ideal. If you're in the field, if you're a teacher, instead of looking at, okay, what's in it for me, how do I gain more tuitions, how do I gain more, whatever it is, take a look at, let me see how I can add value to my students. If you're a businessman, say, instead of looking at only me and my profits, let me see how I can add value to the customer. If you're an artist, dedicate your action to art. If you're a sports person, dedicate yourself to the sport. If you're a musician, dedicate yourself to music. Whatever you're doing, you don't need to change what you're doing. What only thing you need to change is your attitude towards whatever it is that you do. And that's so simple. Once you do that, it gives you so much joy, it gives you so much excitement that you will not want to go back to the selfish way of life. So therefore, all you need to do is try it out, experiment with it. You don't lose anything. But no, you dig your heels in and say, it's just me, myself, I. And by your own stubbornness, you deny yourself higher enjoyments. So the moment you pick up a higher ideal, the lower desires fall away. This is desire reduction. Desire elimination. How do you bring that? We're all looking for happiness, but we don't know where it lies or how to gain it. Vedanta gives us a unique formula for happiness. And in these 4 days, if you forgot, and you will forget, entire 15th chapter you'll forget. Next week, if somebody asks you, where were you 4 days the last week, I tried to get you, I couldn't get you, you'll say, where was I? You'll forget even that you came here. I went to Bhaidas. What did I go for? Maybe a play. And then with a lot of digging, you'll say, no, I went for the Gita. Which chapter? You don't know. Nothing you'll remember next week. Why? Because Krishna says, I am the apohanam, forgetfulness. First thing you forget is the Gita and Krishna. But don't forget this, because this is what is really going to make a difference in your life. What is happiness? Formula for happiness is happiness equals desires fulfilled divided by desires harbored. Such a simple formula. But the way they put it in verse is difficult to figure out. Now, if temporarily you go along with this, if you want to increase your happiness, what must you do? Either increase the number of desires you fulfill, which is the numerator, or reduce the number of desires that you have harbored. What are we all trying to do? Fulfill desires, right? Birth to death, morning to night, we're just obsessed with fulfilling desires. And you have fulfilled so many desires. This month, this week, this year, has your happiness increased? You are saying no. What did you say? Decreased. Okay. Why? Why is it that in spite of fulfilling so many desires, your happiness has either not increased or actually decreased? Because the denominator, without your knowing it, the denominator also increases. And the moment there is the slightest increase in the denominator, it completely nullifies any increase in the numerator. So what the Gita tells us is, in fact, the numerator doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the numerator is. It's completely irrelevant. What really matters is the denominator. Now we are stuck with thousands and millions and trillions of desires in the denominator. How can you expect to achieve happiness? So, the spiritual path is a procedure by which you get this denominator down to a manageable level, and amazingly, as this comes down, what happens? The numerator increases. As you rise above a desire, miraculously, mysteriously, the object of desire comes to you, which means desire is actually the obstacle between you and the object of desire, which you never understand. As long as you're obsessed with a desire, any desire, the smallest of desire, the greatest of desire, you will never get the object of desire. The more, even temporarily you get fed up and say, forget it, I don't want it. You know what will happen? Object comes to you. We have no time to go deeper into this, but you go back home and for heaven's sake think about it. Think about this formula for happiness. Think, how am I going to get this denominator down? And very soon you will achieve two things. Your desire stockpile will go down and the objects of desire will come to you unsought, without any stress, effortlessly. What a fine way. This is called heaven. What we are is in hell, because we are full of desires and we are increasing the desires that we are entertaining, and there is no hope of fulfilling any of these desires. So there is a huge yawning gap between what we have and what we need. This is what causes frustration. That's why everybody is living on the edge. Everyone is on edge. The slightest thing you say here and there, people explode. Just now as we were driving, the whole traffic was blocked because there were two motorists got out of their cars and were fighting in the middle of the road. At least here it's verbal fight. In Delhi it's actual blows. So this is it. And how do you decrease the denominator? As we've already seen, upgrade your desires. If you are at the physical level, physical level you have plenty of desires. All you have to do is pick up one emotional desire and instantly you find there's a relief. The physical desires no longer come and disturb you. For instance, a mother, you find particularly among the lower classes where there are limited resources, you find a mother voluntarily gives up her own physical desires. If there's less food to eat, she will go without food and make sure that the children are well fed. And she doesn't experience the hardship. She experiences joy in the fact that the children are doing well. Rise still further to the intellectual level. Let's say the Mahatma Gandhi, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, when he was a student, was like any one of us. But the moment he picked an intellectual desire of working for gaining freedom for the country, what happened? All emotional and physical desires completely vanished. Now what he's saying is, the moment you rise and pick up a spiritual desire, the denominator comes down to zero, because that's the only desire, everything else goes away. Go back to the formula for happiness. The moment the denominator comes down to zero, what happens? Infinity. You got it. So this is the spiritual path in a nutshell. In half an hour you got the whole deal. Now let's get back to verse 11.
Yatanto yoginaschainam pasyantyatmanyavasthitam yatantopyakrutamanah nainam pashyantya chetasah.
Yatantaha yoginah, the striving yogis, see this established in self. See, this means Atman. Though exerting, though striving, the undeveloped and unintelligent do not see this. So first of all he says, Yogina is one who is constantly striving to reunite with Atman. Yatantaha, striving. The important part here is striving. You have to constantly put in that effort. At no stage can you get complacent and say, oh, I've achieved this. The moment you stop putting in effort, what happens? You go down. It's exactly like a person trying to lose weight. It's a battle. So that constant effort must be there. The moment you let go of the effort, what happens? Put on the weight again. So that's how you don't do it. So the constancy of effort is what is important. Striving. How does the yogi strive? By putting in effort at dealing with the desires. First step, intellect comes in to manage the desires. Next step, reduction of desires through karma yoga, bhakti yoga and jnana yoga, which we've seen earlier. Karma yoga is nothing but working in a spirit of service and sacrifice for a higher ideal. Bhakti yoga is making an effort to increase your sphere of oneness with people, and jnana yoga is zeroing through, x-raying through the differences, the diversity in the world, and focusing on the unity that binds us all together. So once you do this, you become dispassionate, detached. Your mind is available to you. It is no longer getting distracted and going all over the place. With such a mind, you focus on meditation. Meditation removes the last traces of desire in your personality. You reunite with Atman. This is the striving yogi. This is how the striving yogi sees this. Why this? This implies something very close to you as against that which is distant from you. So this means enam, that which is closest to you is your own self. It's the core of your personality. See this Atmani avasthitam, dwelling. Where do you see this? Not out there, but within yourself. Then he compares this with two qualities. Extroverted people are akritatmanaha. Akritatmanaha is undeveloped. The Sanskrit dictionary defines it as a person who is not cultivated, an unrefined person, an undeveloped person, unsuccessful, immature person, ignorant, foolish, one who is not identified with Atman. Now, akritatmanaha, unrefined. Why is he unrefined? Why is he crude? Because he is full of desires, full of attachment, full of ego, and all of this is a turn-off. Makes him an ugly caricature. Why is he like this? Achetasaha, because of ignorance. So, an akritatmanaha is an agitated person, a stressed out person, and this stress comes about, he lives a life like that. Who is he? All of us. All of us are doing this. Why are we doing this? Because of achetasaha, there is no understanding. There is no intelligence. Intelligence not as in knowledge of subjects, but basic intelligence. What am I doing with myself? Where have I come from? What is my mission in life? What do I have to achieve before I drop dead? That basic questioning we don't do. And then, because we don't do this basic questioning, we get carried away by whatever comes along. Akritatmanaha achetasa. But what is important is, this guy is also putting in the same effort that the yogi is putting. The effort being the same, the result, the reward is great for a yogi because he reaches the state of realization. The akritatmanaha and achetasaha do not see this. They fail to perceive the compelling presence of the higher, the spirit, Atman, Brahman. Once you open your heart and mind to this presence of divinity everywhere, you're in a constant state of, you're in a constant high, because you're attuned to that power constantly. At least once a day if you open your heart and soul to it. That's why it's so important that you study every single day. What a difference it makes. It's when you experience it within yourself that you will never let go of it. Preferably 4 o'clock in the morning, 4 a.m. when you wake up and sit down and study, that is the height of bliss that you can experience. And then right through the day you have this strength that enables you to meet with life's challenges. You don't, like this afternoon there was a couple. Both of them, I don't know what they did. They went in for some cell phone connection. And then they found that it was not what, there's always a catch, there's always a fine print. So the lady got excited, angry. So the husband said, okay, let's strike a deal. We'll both go together to the dealer. I will put it in my way. If it works, you don't have to get angry. If it doesn't work, then you take over. And the soft approach worked, everything was fine. So she got even more frustrated because she got no opportunity to vent her frustration. So he got the wrong end of the stick. To which I said, next time she gets like this, it's much better that she lets it out with the dealer than with you. That's what happens. So anyway, the yogi sees this dwelling in the self. Akritatmanaha achetasaha means all of us. We fail to see this. And it's because that we fail to see this, that we get frustrated. So the root cause of all our frustration and anger and whatever the negativities that we experience is because we are putting in so much effort and not getting the reward for it. This is the problem. If you put in effort, you expect some kind of reward for it. You put in a lot of effort, and elsewhere in the Gita, 7th chapter, he says, Antavattu phalam tesham tad bhavati alpamedasam. Alpamedasam, a person who is of little intelligence, reaches finite fruit. Then he says, the worshippers of the gods go to the gods, my devotee comes to me. This is exactly what he's saying here in a different way. The striving yogi reaches the state of enlightenment, the rest don't. They fail to perceive this. Next verse, 12.
Yadadityagatam tejaha jagadbhasayate Yachandramasi yachanam tatejo vidhimamakam.
The splendor of the sun, which is the moon and the fire, illumines the whole world. Know that light to be mine. Now with this verse, he enters the third topic, which deals with how Brahman is the substratum of both the macrocosm and the microcosm. The first 6 verses he deals with how Brahman pervades the universe. Then 7 to 11 he speaks of how Brahman energizes or enables the individual you and me to function. You remember he speaks of the eye, the ear, every organ of the mind, the intellect. Now he is telling us that Brahman is the substratum of both the universe and the individual. Why does he get into this? Because when he says the universe, the world is me, is Brahman,